Today's video, I wanted to do a review of a TV show that I just watched the first season of on Netflix. It's a Netflix original show. It's Bojack Horseman. The stars. This is a cartoon. This stars the voice talents: Will Arnett, Aaron Paul, Alison Brie, Amy Sedaris. Lots of guest actors pop on as well. There's Paul F. Tompkins. There's Patton Oswalt, Stanley Tucci, which I thought was kind of cool how he lent his voice talents to the show. A whole bunch of other actors and actresses. It's a very interesting show. Now, the thing is, I had heard like pretty much, how Netflix sends you the email. Oh, watch now, BoJack Horseman. What the fuck is this? So I don't know. There wasn't much lead up to it. So I saw the email, saw kind of like the banner, the Netflix banner. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know what the hell this is, but yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it was like stuck in my brain a little bit. Kind of thought about it from time to time, and kind of one of the interesting things that kind of like, in a weird way, kind of swayed me. I was on the subway reading a Rolling Stone. I got it for the Willie Nelson article. This is a great article, by the way. You gotta check this issue of Rolling Stone out. But it was really weird. There's actually an article on BoJack Horseman. So I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if it's gonna be clear enough to read, but you get the general idea, basically. I don't know. It's like not really a real interview. Obviously, not like with a Will Arnett interview or anything like that. But it's as if it's an interview with BoJack Horseman. So I'm like, this is kind of weird, kind of interesting advertising. So I don't know. It stuck in my head a little bit longer. Finally, I watched it. But basically, these are my thoughts on the show. It's going to be a brief review here, nothing too in depth. Hopefully, I always say that, then I end up rambling on for 20, 30 minutes. Hopefully that won't happen now, but it's a good show. It takes some warming too. I will tell you that. But Netflix, they do kind of know their audiences, so they know that people are going to binge watch. It's, the expression. They're going to keep watching. So that's kind of the fortunate thing about this day and age with TV shows and kind of the new ways to view them on these types of platforms, is that if this were a cable show, probably wouldn't get past the pilot because, I watched the first episode. Okay, it's pretty good. And the thing is, I can already tell it's going to be one of those shows that gets better upon repeat viewings because, you know the general story, so you can keep watching. Anyway, in so many ways, I was intrigued by the general concept because, okay, if there's one thing you need to know about me, I'm a big fan. Huge fan of like cheesy, family-friendly, late 80s, early 90s sitcoms. I don't know why, but I just love them so much. Charles in Charge, Full House, Others, Family Ties, Growing Pains, all that stuff. I don't know why. I love it. So it's kind of a send-off of that. Basically, BoJack Horseman, he's the star of a show called Horsin' Around, where he's a single guy raising 3 kids. I believe it's 3. He's a horse, and whatever. I don't know how this show works, but there's humans and there's animals. I don't know the rules of this show, but he's a washed-up 90s sitcom star, and that's kind of where he's now. He's alcoholic. His career's in the shitter, and he's trying to make a comeback. And his comeback is to write an autobiography about his experiences as BoJack Horseman, about his TV show Horsin' Around, and he strikes a deal with Penguin Publishing. Head of Penguin Publishing is an actual penguin, and that's the voice of Patton Oswalt, which is pretty good. And yeah, basically it's about him trying to write his book, but he can't write worth shit. So that's kind of the comedic premise of the movie, that he has to hire a ghostwriter. The ghostwriter is a young Vietnamese girl, voiced by Alison Brie. BoJack Horseman is Will Arnett, in case I forgot to mention that, in case you didn't know that. And she's writing for him as a ghostwriter, observing his life, basically, and kind of seeing what she can get out of it. And there's also kind of like a a romantic subplot there where she is involved in a relationship with Mr. Peanut Butter. Wow, it sounds really stupid when I'm saying the plot out loud, but you got to give the show a chance. I'm sure like executive meeting, they're like reading out this plot. They're like, what? And anyway, but Mr. Peanut Butter, he's a dog, and he's a star of his own sitcom. I forget, Mr. Peanut Butter's House, something like that. But anyway, there's kind of a rivalry there, but it's a Hollywood kind of thing, so they're like fake friends, sort of. Mr. Peanut Butter is like a really positive, kind of encouraging guy, and Bojack Horseman can't stand that because he's so jaded and he's such kind of an asshole. Aaron Paul is his roommate, only he doesn't pay rent. He's kind of the slacker roommate character. Aaron Paul, what a great, voice acting that he does. And Will Arnett, too, by the way. And you gotta figure, he has such a unique voice, such a funny kind of inflection delivery that he can do so effortlessly. Perfect for this type of show, as weird as the concept is. But anyway, she's dating Mr. Peanut Butter. He kind of secretly loves her or whatever, and they get to know each other, and big wedding coming up and all that stuff. I forget his name now. God, what's his name? I'm just gonna call him Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul is like writing an rock opera, but he gets addicted to a video game. A whole bunch of stuff. And Amy Sedaris is the agent who's a cat. So I don't know. It sounds really stupid when I explain this show, but I got to tell you, I warmed to it quite a bit. It takes a few episodes to really get into it, but when you do, I do believe it's worth it because it kind of reminds me almost of a little bit like of a show such as Duckman. The great television show with Jason Alexander playing the voice of Duckman, where you have this animal character. You have these animal characters like you'd see in a cartoon, but then you have like real human characters, and no one really acknowledges it. There's romantic relationships, all that weird stuff. There's a really weird episode where something's kind of sparked between him and the actress who played his adopted daughter on this show, which is just wrong. But anyway, this movie is very dark in its humor. It's very satirical of Hollywood, particularly of this like section of Hollywood where they were successful somewhere, but out there somewhere there is someone who had a big sitcom and is just washed up right now. So I mean, that's kind of funny stuff. Sort of. You have to have a dark sense of humor, but it kind of reminds me of Duckman a little bit, just because it has kind of that weird fusing of kind of the types of characters that you would see on a kids show. And what do you see on kids shows? Mostly animals and stuff, and more of an adult kind of humor. If it weren't for the fact that we're animated, and other than the fact that there are animal characters, I could see this as kind of like like sort of like an HBO show. Maybe like kind of like Eastbound and Down, sort of something like that. So it's that kind of a show, to give you sort of an idea of it. But it's very funny. Very again, the satire on this is huge. So you do kind of have to like these kinds of shows about like behind the scenes of Hollywood and all the debauchery and stuff like that. But I enjoy that. Not debauchery, but just humor about it. And of course, 90s sitcoms and stuff. There's some very obscure jokes in this show, but all of them are really good. But now here's the funny thing about this show. At some point, you let your guard down, and at some point you're like, oh shit, I actually care for this animated horse. I am actually invested in the relationship with him and the ghostwriter, Alison Brie. The character's name is Diane. I can kind of see why these characters should be together. They both have their past and kind of messed up lives. How did this happen? Which is kind of cool because it's a silly show. Very silly humor, but good characterization. And as opposed to something like what you'd see on something like, Family Guy or whatever, there's no real characterization there. You don't give a shit about the characters. It's just obscure joke after obscure joke after obscure joke. Here you get that kind of cool stuff where it's like there's a sit boo boo sit good dog joke. That's all I'll say about it. But I mean, that gives you an idea of, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, maybe you won't like the show. But yeah, and kind of it is this satire of this whole era where you could be a stand-up comedian, be a success. Next logical step, sitcom. And that was the thing. That was the movie star, or not movie star, but TV star celebrity dream. Late 80s, early 90s was, okay, do good stand up, get a successful sitcom, you're set. But what happens after the sitcom is canceled? So that's something to think about. And it doesn't pull any punches, sort of. Like, it's harsh. It's I don't know. It's just hard to describe, kind of the brand of humor. But I like it. And again, Will Arnett, he's such a great voice talent on this show that I think he's perfect for it. Actually, even Aaron Paul, very perfect. So yeah, I think it is something that's worth exploring. I definitely like to go over it again soon. And yeah, I would say, give it give it the old Netflix what for. Go through the whole thing, binge it, because the first few episodes, yeah, maybe you're gonna be going, but if you're like me, there may be some point where all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I am invested in this horse, which is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So I think it's worth a shot. BoJack Horseman, really good show, something that Netflix is promoting right now, so definitely give it a watch. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. This first season is come and gone. I'll probably watch it again at some point, probably before season 2 comes out, which will probably be, by Netflix standards, like a year from now. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. So that's really all I have to say about that. So I do thank you for watching. As usual, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you later. Bye.